What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston breakdown episode. Today is episode 250. Wow, I can't believe I've done 250 long-form Comically Boston, either Monday morning podcasts or breakdowns for episodes of like shows. Wild. But Daredevil Born Again episode 7 came out last night and it was called Art for Art's Sake. And this is definitely coming off of last week's Muse episode with the blood art, and of course we have another blood art inspired poster with Kingpin and Devil's Work Is Never Done, and a line was crossed, and the scales of justice on Matt's side, and he's like the blood Daredevil side and the Kingpin's the white side, Born Again. And yeah, real creepy Muse art, and then you got, of course, a Muse-inspired poster with just blood eyes and the dripping of the blood. Ooh, Muse is such a creepy villain, and this episode really comes to a head on finding out who Muse is and what his deal is, and maybe not the best episode of the season, but definitely still a good one. But let's jump right on into it. Episode 7, Art for Art's Sake. And coming off of episode 6, Fisk was beating up Adam, and Daredevil and Muse had round 1 as Matt was trying to save Angela Del Toro, Hector Ayala's niece, in Muse's lair. And we open this episode in Fisk's office, and he's in his mayor's office, and he's looking out the window, and he asks his two guys, Daniel and Buck, what they see when they look out the window. And Daniel goes, Starbucks, and Buck's like, Votes? What do you see, sir? And Fisk says, fear, a city churning to a stop. I promised this city I would protect them from this freak, and now we have nothing. And Daniel's like, I wouldn't say we have nothing there, boss. We know that Angela Del Toro girl survived Muse's attack last night. You know, and he starts, bringing up that Angela survived and that she is at the hospital, and we find out that she lost 2,500 milliliters of blood. Now, I'm no doctor, but that sounds like quite a bit of blood, and she's a little girl, so how much goddamn blood can a little girl have? But poor Angela survived, but we also then find out, and Daniel and Buck tell Fisk, that she pointed out Muse's hideout to the police, and Daredevil was the one who saved her. And Fisk says, so he's back. Get out. And then he is looking out the window, and he's like, so he's back. And we cut to the intro. But as he looks out the window, is he angry or is he happy that Daredevil is back? Because maybe he's ready for the Kingpin darker half to come back. But now that Daredevil's back and Fisk knows it, and that warning that they gave each other at the beginning of this season, what consequences will Kingpin have for Matt now that he knows he's back as Daredevil? But we cut to the intro, and then we cut over to Angela Del Toro at the hospital, and she's dreaming, kind of having PTSD about everything that happened, and she's hearing Daredevil's voice saying, it's okay, I'm here. And then we cut over to Matt in the shower from the long night he had, and we see that he's bleeding, and Heather comes in and sees that he has bruised ribs, but he kind of hits her with the line that he had in the Daredevil series where Karen was like, how do they not realize all the scars on your body? Or no, he says it to Elektra. How do the women that you bring into your life not realize all the scars all over your body? And he's like, they're normally enjoying themselves too much to notice. And he kind of, pulls that move with Heather, but it doesn't work so well because Heather really loves Matt and knows him too well to realize what's going on. But we have the little shower scene here where you can see the blood and everything. And you can see at the end of that clip there, as they're having steamy sex in the shower, he does have a scar on his back from Nobu from season 1 or 2. But yeah, I did say in one of the previous episodes, I was like, yo, where are his scars? Because he was laying in bed and you couldn't see any of them. And he definitely had scars front and back from Nobu. But apparently now he just has some, and they're like fading, so they're not, you know, as prevalent, but you do catch a quick little glimpse of scars on his back, so still there. But Heather and him have some kinky sex in the shower, and you can hear, like, in that scene as they start, like, kissing, like, a heart, he, like, can hear her heartbeat start to get, you know, going more, and his heartbeat probably starts going as well as they're both getting aroused, right? But it like works its way into like the score of the scene. I'm like, this is such well-crafted daredevilry of a show, you know what I'm saying? But after their shower sex, we then see that Matt is lying to Heather when she questions him about being beat up, and he says, I went for a walk, sometimes I fall, sometimes that's the reality of my situation. And she's like, why didn't you tell me you went for a walk then? And he's like, because it's embarrassing that I got hurt when I fell and walked. Which is all complete bullshit. Like, he's Daredevil, like he doesn't fall when he walks. Like, and he says that before everything that happened here and with her and Heather and this nice place that he now has in his new law firm, he says before all this he had a whole nother life. Kind of meaning his life with Foggy and Karen, which she brings up, but also kind of just meaning his life as Daredevil. And he's saying all this now, because of the life he had before, all this now feels fake to him. And she tells him that he has this trauma that he keeps tamping down and burying down so far deep that he can't see when it's bubbling over inside of him and going to ruin everything good he has going for himself and with Heather. And he says, I know I'm trying to fight it. And she's like, you don't have to fight it. You need to process it. And obviously, you know, she's giving him therapist help, but she's his girlfriend, so it's a little, you know, a little weird because she's not supposed to be as emotionally involved as she is, but she loves Matt, right? But Matt says, thank you, Dr. Glenn. She's like, oh, come on. She's like crying, you know, they're having like a real heart-to-heart moment. But then she says, I love you, Matt. And he says, I love you too. And he like touches her face, and they have like a nice little moment. But a nice little moment in this darkness of this series, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are always brief little moments and then back to the darkness. We then see Matt go over to his office, and Cherry calls him out for Daredevil getting involved after he told him not to. And Cherry's pissed, and he's like, you know what, you're on your own. And I have the clip of this, but Matt sasses him so hard.
No. If you want to blow up your life again, you go ahead. You're on your own.
You know, there was a time when you were on the force. Moments like this. You called me.
So we see, you know, back to that opening moments in the first episode where Cherry was retiring at Josie's bar, and he was saying that Daredevil and White Tiger, they're the future, cops are obsolete, and he was almost pro-vigilantes back then. Now, because he knows Matt is Daredevil, he's like, no, I told you not to get involved. And Matt's like, yo, listen, when you were a cop and shit like this happened, you used to call me. Remember that? Like, Cherry walks out. So I don't know, maybe Cherry and him aren't on speaking terms anymore, but I don't know. I do like Cherry and I do like Kirsten, but they're just not giving them as much character depth, you know what I mean? I don't know if we need that or don't, but it just doesn't feel as Karen and Foggy as before, but maybe that's intentional. You know, maybe Matt isn't letting himself get as close to the people around him as he used to, other than Heather, which is definitely going to bite him in the ass. We then cut back over to Fisk talking to Buck in his office, and he's still looking out the window thinking about Daredevil being back, and Buck says, is it the worst thing, you know, that Daredevil's back and going after Muse, you know, for the sake of the city? And Fisk says, ha! For the sake of the city! You're talking about a man that wears a devil's mask, you know, like, and he says that Daredevil single-handedly took down 10 years of business, and Fisk says he's responsible to protect the city from anyone that steps outside of the law. So, you know, Fisk is plotting and planning and thinking and brainstorming ideas on how to take down not only Matt Murdock, but Daredevil. But he doesn't, you know, say to Buck, like, oh, I know who Daredevil is. It's Matthew Murdock, the lawyer. You know, like, he doesn't, you know, fill in Buck on that detail for some reason. You know, he's keeping that close to the vest, that Daredevil and Matt Murdock are the same person. Which, for what reason? You know, I would feel like Fisk would want to be using that information against Matt as much as possible, but who knows. We then see Angela wakes up in the hospital and she's talking to Matt, and I believe her mother's there as well, but she doesn't have any speaking lines. And Matt asks, what does she remember? And as she's telling him what she remembers about the whole thing, we see Detective Kim and her partner are taking photos down in the Muse hideout and, you know, finding bodies hanging and, you know, finding the hideout and, you know, documenting all of it and just, you know, seeing Muse's twisted art of faces and stuff laid out. And Angela says that even when Muse took her, he couldn't stop talking about his paintings, talking about them and painting them, and just, you know, even when she was there, just couldn't stop painting. Like, needed to paint these faces, these art, and you know, it's just creepy as hell. The twisted face art of them, like, screaming, of, like, as he's murdering them, he captures that last moment of their scream and, like, paints it. So creepy, so creepy. Muse is a good villain, really, but creepy for sure. We then cut over to the Queenpin, Vanessa, as she goes to meet Luca. And Luca's wondering what Fisk's play is here. Like, wait, why does he want to be the mayor? What's the angle? And Luca says it was better when Vanessa was the boss, and things ran smoother, and maybe it's time to make a change, and maybe she knows it too. And she says, are you asking for my permission or for my help? And he says, that's up to you. So, is Luca in trouble? Is Vanessa in trouble? Or is Fisk in trouble? I don't know. Will she help Luca or will she not? We then cut over to Heather meeting a new client. And this is the weird kid from Heather's book signing earlier in the season. I think it was episode 1 or 2, maybe 3, but definitely earlier in the season. We see him at a book signing and ask her, you know, if she has any openings for clients. And this is gotta be Muse, because he's weird and he's, you know, in her office now. And we learn that his name is Bastian Cooper, and Detective Kim is informing Fisk at the same time of who the suspects are of this Muse, and she thinks it's very strongly that this Bastian Cooper is their guy. He has a troubling past and he would compete in Taekwondo tournaments, so that explains his fighting skills and why he was able to fight well against Daredevil. Agent Kim says that his Taekwondo coach was found dead at his family's estate, but there was no investigation into what happened. So she thinks it's a good likely chance that he killed his Taekwondo coach when he was a young kid, and he's just continued his killing spree going back many years. But this is definitely a serial killer. But then back we see Bastian in Heather's office starts to get a bit riled up talking about his coach, and she's like, you know, starting to piece together who he is. And as he's getting riled up, his nose starts bleeding, and he takes the blood and draws a Muse mask on the paper in front of him. Just so creepy, using his own blood to draw art. And he's like looking at Heather and he goes, I can see the look on your face, you already know who I am. And you know, as she like sees it and puts together like, oh fuck, this is Muse in front of me, this kid's a serial killer and I've just been trying to help him, but he needs a lot more help than you can provide, Heather. And then Muse says the creepiest line, I know what you're thinking. Can you make it to the door? Oh, can you make it to the door in time? And she runs for the door and he throws her into a wall and knocks her out cold. And I'm like, oh no, poor Heather's gonna be Muse's next victim. We then see Kirsten McDuffie back at their office presses Cherry and says, yo, listen, like, I know that you and Matt are hiding something from me and we're supposed to be partners and that's not fucking cool. So it calls out, you know, Cherry for hiding Matt's secret of being Daredevil, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Foggy knowing that Matt's Daredevil and Karen knowing something's up but not knowing the secret, you know. So I'm like, it's Karen and Foggy all over again, but just not as good because we don't care about Kirsten and Cherry. I mean, I do, but most people probably don't. Like, Kirsten and Cherry are just like a discount cheaper knockoff version of Karen and Foggy. And Karen and Foggy are the story. Like, we need our people back. I'm still in denial. I think Foggy's alive, but I'm sad. We then see cops looking at Muse's hideout and going through all his paintings and all of his files and all of his shit, trying to find, you know, evidence on what's going on and where Muse could be. And as they leave, Daredevil rappels down like goddamn Batman, and I laughed so hard. I was like, where was he? He was just up there the whole time waiting for them to leave, and also he just rappels down like and he fucking walks in, starts looking for evidence on Muse on where he could be, and he starts, you know, searching for clues, and he sees multiple paintings of Heather and starts to put the connections together from, you know, earlier in the episode when he touched her face and the feeling of her face and the feeling of this art. And he's like, oh my god. And he connects the dots that she's in danger and that is where Muse could be right now. And Officer Powell walks in right at the end as he like figures this out, and Matt just quickly throws his baton and knocks him out and goes, oh shit, before taking off. But I have a clip here of him, like, you know, figuring out that Heather's painting is Heather's face is on Muse's painting. Oh Christ, he says. Right at the end, he's like, oh God, no, why? Like he realizes at the end, right at the end, and then you can see right at the end of that clip, just peering around the corner, is about to be Powell, just getting clocked in the dome, just fucking, oh shit, and he fucking runs away, but Powell gets knocked out in the process. We then cut back to Powell is now awake and filling in Fisk that Heather Glenn is the face ID from the paintings, and she is also Fisk's couples counselor with Vanessa. So poor Heather Glenn is at the center of all this and not even trying to. But Heather wakes up at her office with Muse sitting right across from her. Not Bastion anymore, Muse, and it's so creepy, just his eyes peering out of this mask with the black beanie cap, and such a simple outfit, but looks so good. And he starts cutting her and like draining her of her blood, but not as like, you know, neat as he was before with like the syringe and draining it into a blood tank. He's just like letting the blood go everywhere at this point. You know, just tied something, just let her cut her arm. It's gruesome, it's gross. If you don't like blood, it's gross. But either way, cuts up Heather and starts, you know, like touching her all weird, and his plan is like he has one grand painting left, and he's going to paint on this giant canvas with Heather's blood, and then he brought a gun, which we haven't really seen him kill a whole lot with guns, so he was gonna kill her with her blood and then kill himself, and that was going to be his last grand painting, you know, instead of getting arrested by the cops. But the cops show up and he says, no, not yet. So now his plan that he thought he had more time with Heather starts to get rushed into formation, starts to like, you know, be like, all right, we're just gonna have to kill you the hard way. And he like goes to grab her, and she's like, look at you, you're a fucking coward, you can't even talk to me without this goddamn mask on now. And she says, anyone who needs a mask is a coward. Ooh, little does she know, a man in a mask is about to come save her. Only if he heard, like, imagine he's about to swing in. Man in the mask is a coward. He just goes, alright, you can die. Just swings away. Like, just fucking, no, he's a hero. He can't just let her die. But so Muse grabs her and she headbutts him, tries to run away, and he slams her into the ground and starts choking her. And I was like, God damn it, dude, this guy's so aggressive with poor Heather. And but right when he's choking her, Daredevil swings in through the window and busts in, and Fisk's task force shows up at the same time and starts to come in the front door. But Muse, as he's fighting Matt, grabs a knife and charges at Heather, and he's about to kill Heather. And Matt shoots his baton grappling hook through Muse's shoulder and then drags him on the floor and drags him across his painting, now making Daredevil art out of Muse's blood. Crazy. And, you know, just starts beating the crap out of him. And then he gets up and Heather shoots him and unloads his gun and just keeps pulling until you hear click, 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 right? Like there's no bullets left, but she's just like, holy shit. And then she passes out from losing blood. And she's also just killed one of her clients that was trying to kill her. You know, she's had a tough day. But poor Heather is now a murderer too. And you can't help but think of Matt's loves in his life becoming murderers, with Elektra being a murderer, Karen being a murderer. Like, Karen did the same thing, right? This guy, like, kidnapped her and was holding her at gunpoint, and she gets the gun and pulled the trigger and just kept fucking pulling until she ran out of bullets. Just kept pulling, you know? Like, maybe Heather and Karen not so different. I still like Karen more, but it is what it is. We need Karen, we need Frank, we need Foggy back. We need our boys back together. But Muse is shot to death. And now Muse is the art, and Muse is laying in the painting of his own blood, and it's like such a gruesome picture. And poor Heather is passed out, and Matt's like, you know, trying to, you know, make sure she'll be alright. But Muse laying in the middle of this blood art now of himself is the art, is wild. I really love that image of him. But do you wish we got more Muse backstory? Like, did we get enough of him? Like, is now that he's dead, is this done? Like, are we done with Muse? Like, we're never going to talk about Muse again? Like, I thought this was a very, very, very good episode, but it was a little mid. You know, it was just a slight bit underwhelming, right? Like, I felt like it could have been more. I felt like this could have been the finale, right? So we could have gotten 2 more brief buffer episodes of him trying to track down Muse. But it was unexpected, which I like. You know, I wasn't expecting Muse, the culmination of the Muse story to end right here, right now. You know what I'm saying? I thought there was going to be a little bit more to go, and we were going to finish the season with Muse before heading into the Fisk stuff in season 2. But it seems these final 2 episodes are going to be tackling more Wilson Fisk and his task force type of stuff as like the main villain for the end of season 1 heading into season 2. Wild stuff. But the kid that played Bastion, he looked like a young kid, but boy was he a serial killer once he put on that mask. God damn. But comment below your thoughts on Muse. But now that Muse is dead, the cops run in and Daredevil's gone. And Cole North tells Fisk that Daredevil was totally the one that took down Muse, and Fisk is like, no, the task force is who took down Muse, right? And Cole North's like, yes sir, I'm gonna go, but yeah, sure, we'll sell your story. And then we cut over to Daniel talking to BB, and he's sitting in Fisk's like mayor chair as she walks into Fisk's office for this meeting that he called her to, and he says that she owes him one, and for that garbage story that she fucked him over on. And she's like, well, you were drunk, and he's like, listen, I'm not a fucking chump. Like, listen, you need to write that the task force took down Muse instead of Daredevil. And she's like, but that's bullshit. So clearly she knows that it's not true, but he kind of threatens her, and she's like, did you just threaten me? And he's like, no. And he kind of hits her with that Tony Soprano shit. And he's like, I have an opportunity in front of you to work with a really great man. And your decision will decide whether or not the rest of your life will be good or shitty. And I'd totally be stoked if you made a good decision right now. And the right decision. And she's just kind of like, right, I don't know if this is going to be good or not for BB. Because I can picture BB writing that Daredevil was really the person that took down Muse, pissing off Fisk, and then BB ends up killed the same way. Oh no. It just hit me. Does season 1 of Daredevil Born Again end with Fisk killing BB for a story that she writes about him? The same way that he killed her uncle Ben Urich at the end of Daredevil season 1? Oh no. I am scared for BB now. Oh no. I just put that together in my head and that sounds a little too good to be true. Oh no, dude, BB's life is not very long. There's only 2 more episodes. Something bad's gonna happen. We then see Heather is at the hospital. She is recovering, and Matt's there, and she says that she thinks Daredevil said her name. And then she like turns on the TV to hear that Muse is dead and that the hot doctor is in the hospital. And she like starts crying because clearly she's upset that she killed a man, but she also lost her patient that she was trying to help. And she's now hurt and in the hospital. But also maybe she's crying because maybe she heard, you know, Daredevil say Heather, and she was like, oh, that's Matt's voice. I know that voice from anywhere. And maybe she's connecting the dots. Maybe Heather now knows that Matt's Daredevil, because you can see the look on his face when she says Daredevil knew her name. He's like, oh shit, how would Daredevil know your name if he never met you? Did I screw myself? And you're like, kinda, maybe, I don't know. But we then see Fisk is selling his story that the task force took down Muse, and he has Powell holding up the Muse mask and just kind of fake smiling with his task force here. And oof, the Muse mask looks like a KKK mask when it's not being worn. But this episode ends with Queenpin Vanessa texting Luca that Fisk is alone and sending him an address, and she's going to help Luca take out her own husband. But Luca, as he's walking up to shoot Fisk in the back as he's eating his second dinner at this, like, you know, restaurant that's above where he's keeping Adam, Luca's about to shoot Fisk, and Buck steps out from the shadows and shoots Luca twice. Fisk just goes, thank you, Buck. And we're like, who is Buck? 007? What is he, James Bond? But Buck's character in the comics is a character named Bullet, so maybe he's a really good shot, and I don't know. He then says after he shoots Luca, would you call Vanessa and ask her if she'd like me to bring home some Sol Monterey? I said that awfully, but it's a French dish that she must really like. And he's like, yeah, make sure you call her. And I wonder if he takes Luca's phone and calls her like, hey, you need food? Your husband's wondering if you want some food. And she's probably just gonna be like, oh shit, yeah, sure. And the credits roll on this episode as he's just sitting there eating his food with the dead guy behind him. He didn't even flinch as Buck shot 2 shots right over his head. And the credits roll with Please Stay by the Crying Shames playing. And you're just like, oh wow, what a moody song for this moody episode. But so is Buck going to be a big character? Like, is he going to becoming like a vigilante himself to go kill Daredevil type of thing? Or is he just Fisk's new Wesley hitman type of thing? You know, new bodyguard, if you would. But also, did Fisk know that Luca was coming? Like, was Vanessa working with Fisk, really, to take out this problem of Luca? Or is Vanessa really trying to take out her husband, Fisk? Like, so is this going to wind up being a Fisk versus Vanessa, like, war? Or is this, like, you know, them working together and maybe they're coming back together as a cohesive unit? I don't know, because it's not clear. But we do know either way that if she is working with him, she now has the address of Fisk's hideout. And if she isn't, she knows the location of Adam in this, like, hideout that Fisk has. So maybe Vanessa knows that he's been lying and that he actually has Adam. I don't know. I just think that it's a little strange that we don't know what's going on really after this Muse shit. And it seems that, like, you know, we could have gotten more Muse, but now we're pivoting pretty hard away and back towards the Kingpin versus Daredevil of it all. And maybe these final 2 episodes bring back Frank Castle, maybe Karen, who knows. Foggy, no, probably not. But we know that it's going to be focusing on his anti-vigilante task force. So what is Fisk up to, man? Like, is he really trying to be mayor? What's his angle being mayor? Like, what is your guys' thoughts? Like, why does he want to be mayor so bad? He could just be the kingpin of crime and have more power and more money and more time. And probably Vanessa, right? Like, so why is he putting this rift between him and Vanessa? Like, and does Vanessa and him come back? I don't know. Like, I want them back together, but does this now create an even bigger rift between them because she just tried to get him killed? Or, like I was saying, it was she working with Buck to make sure that Wilson was okay. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I really don't know. But there is this picture that was going around of behind the scenes after the Daredevil Muse fight, and them like on set dabbing each other up, and I was just like, yeah, bro, Daredevil and Muse, fucking Dylan, you son of a bitch. You know, oh wow, that fucking dab was perfect. dab myself to perfection. That's how we're ending this episode, baby. Woo! Wow, Jesus Christ. I haven't eaten anything today. I think I just got a second wind there at the end of this. Some caffeine just kicked in. Woo! Fucking, whee! I have to go for a run or do something. 2 more weeks of Daredevil, I believe. Episode 8 and 9 are the next 2 weeks. Stay tuned for the finale of Daredevil. Go back and check out the previous videos if you haven't. There's also breakdowns for the Netflix Daredevil series if you want to start from the beginning and go all the way through. Go check those out if you haven't. Comically Boston's coming Monday, breaking down the news from CinemaCon over the last week. And yeah, that's it for me, y'all. Stay tuned for more unboxings. Go check out the Hulk unboxing from the weekend. My name is Big Cam. Once again, thank you guys so much for coming on by. If you'd like to follow my other social medias, links down below in the description. Please, if you'd like to support me and support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you get the notifications and you don't miss out when future videos come out. Thank you guys so much. I love you, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace.